Hello everybody, welcome back to Sprueverse, my scale model universe, people of Earth. Welcome to part 8 of Build, the Polar Lights 1350 refit redo. Yes, this is part 2 of part 2. No, it's actually part 8 of the second build. And so I want to dive in right away and clean my brushes. I just noticed I left them in water just to rinse them. Don't leave brushes in water for too long, especially your good ones. You'll break your heart. Lots of housekeeping. Where to begin? Okay, so in my last update, I was getting ready to start aztecing the saucer. I was starting on the bottom of the saucer. Then I was going to finish everything on the bottom, flip it over, finishing everything on the top, and then your final was to sort of connect it to the secondary hull and pylons, which are finished. They've got a couple of clear coats on them of gloss waiting for decals. And I happened to post a photo on Instagram that thank God I did. I'm really grateful that I did, because my dear friend, the great Lou Del Meso, was kind enough to point out that my planetary sensor was incorrectly. It was correctly. I wouldn't be sitting here sharing my trials and tribulations with you. Incorrect. I had it the wrong way around. And so many of my subscribers and just good decent people who go, it's like you're standing in a room full of people and your fly's undone and you go, do we tell him? Do we tell him, or do we just let him walk around like that? Somebody's got to tell you. Well, my fly was down, and the great Lou Del Meso said, Phil, you got that on the wrong way, babe. And so guess what I had to do? I had to pry it off, clean it up, and flip it around. Now, curiously, I don't have another aftermarket piece. I went back to the planetary sensor that is supplied with your kit, and sure enough, it doesn't sit nicely. So I know what happened. Now, this is not a defense, and it's not an excuse. I made a mistake, and I've corrected it. But just to kind of give you an idea of, I'm sitting here and I'm playing with it, and I'm checking to make sure that everything is fine, right? Well, I put it on the wrong way around, and it fit nicely. Fit like a glove. Put it the right way around, didn't fit. So I go, all right. And I must have just left it that way, and then not thinking the next morning when I came in to glue it down. There you go. But it is correct now. Here it is. It's on the correct way around, and I'm ready to go again. So all that masking that I did, I've started. I've had to start. I will be starting again. But weirdly enough, once you get into a Zen groove on this thing, it actually does not take that long for me to lay these down. Once you understand what you're doing with a piece of your pie, right? So one piece of pie on the masking set equals 2 pie sections on your model. Because you're putting down your positive and your negative opposite of each other, and that's how you create your Aztec effect. So I sit here, put a podcast on, put some music on, whatever, and off I go, and it just flies. So that's what I will be doing now. But my planetary sensor is now on correctly, and we can carry on. So there you go. I'm waiting for this to be solid, because I had to do some sanding, some reputtying, and it's still drying. So I'm not ready to start on my aztecing today, but I did want to start this update by telling everybody my planetary sensor was on incorrectly. Okay, so I will set that aside. Nacelles. We're back on the nacelles. and I'm painting away, and I've got one that is relatively complete here. And what I've done is obviously I've just started plugging in all of the details, and I've just put that's a terrible angle, isn't it? I apologize. I've just put my blue on the back, my yellow for the thrusters, and I've got my black on the side. Now, for my black, I didn't go with just a flat black. I've gone with this one. This is the 71073 black, and it has a little speck of metal in it, just a speck, to give it this kind of, it's got an interesting finish to it. It's not black. And so what happens when the light hits it, it sort of shimmers a little bit. And I like that. I think it's very, 24th century. So I've gone with that. Once this gets a couple of coats, it's going to get a couple of clear coats of gloss, so I can go to town on decals and everything else. I will obviously be aztecing this first, and then we'll just go crazy with the gloss coats. And this will be ready to go. I have got my plugs in, as you know, so they're all ready to go. And so I'm super excited that one nacelle is done. I've got one more to do, and I'll get that done. But I think on this update, we'll take a look at just the base coat of aztecing before we put down our shimmering coat and our gloss coat for decals, and we'll also do a blending coat as well. And I use this for my blending coat. I use the Comart, and I've talked about this, but wow, what a fantastic job it does at blending things. It's just got the right opacity, and it's got the right milkiness, and you can hold an airbrush 10 to 12 inches away from your model and give it a lovely mist, and you don't get any kind of speckling. You get this beautiful soft blend. I really highly recommend that paint when you're doing blending, when you're blending back colors. Now, a lot of you will go, Phil, I blend back colors all the time, and all you have to do is water your paint down. That may be true, but I found that also depends on the airbrush you're using, climate control, and a whole bunch of other things. I'm just telling you what works for me. Because as I like to remind everybody, when you tune into this channel, we're here to have fun. I am here to get each and every one of you to build something. As you know, I don't like models in boxes. We don't. We do collect stashes here, but we like to build models and get them on the shelf where they belong. And of course, occasionally you will receive some extremely marginal modeling advice when I have some to give you. And speaking of marginal modeling advice, last update I talked about this thing of beauty here. Now, I got this at spraygunner.com from a company. You can also go to a company. Here, I'll show you what's on the side here. It's neatandhandy.com. Neatandhandy.com. You can go there. Sometimes I apologize. I'm not great at leaving things in the description. I do try, but so many of you will go, where do you get that? And I go, I told you. But I'm happy to tell you again, guys, because I can forget too. Now, I really like this. It's got some pros and it's got some cons, but it's completely tether free. Try saying that with false teeth. I can take it outside. So when I'm doing some cleanup or just some basic painting, or I want to get a primer down on something, and I want to be outside, I can just march this outside. I don't have to worry about being tethered to my air gun's compressor. Had to think about that for a second. Sometimes the brain doesn't work. Anyway, why do I like this? Well, I like it because I can take it anywhere. I can just take it with me. You could even take this on a plane with you. You know, you're going to a modeling show or what have you, and you need to clean something up or something's gone wrong. This is a great way to have an airbrush with you. It comes in two versions. It comes with a basic version, and it comes with a version that gives you additional batteries. So you plug it in for an hour, and you just let it charge, and it will stay charged for a good couple of hours of use, because I ran it all the way down and I got about an hour and 40 minutes out of it. Pretty good. It has a button at the side here that you just hit on, and you can hear off it goes. It's dual action, so you push down and then pull back for less air or more air. It's obviously it's gravity fed, and it's a basic airbrush. You can put any airbrush on here. You can put in a water on here. You know, you've got a connector here that'll allow you to do that. So there's a way to do it. It sprays quite nicely. For me, I really like it. What are the cons? Well, some of the cons are, you know, to clean an airbrush, obviously you got to have it on, and you've got to be able to push fluid through it to flush it out. So obviously you're burning a lot of air cleaning an airbrush. That can be one of the negatives. The other negative is, you know, I have taken this apart. It's not complicated, but it's not as well made as the Iwatas, obviously. But you know, you can change the needles out on it, so you can get a finer detail. It does come with several large cups, very large cup, and that's really terrific for just basic priming. But anyway. As you know, I'm a bit of a test kitchen here, and I like to talk about these things. Not cheap. Not cheap, I warn you right now. It's going to set you back about $125. I've seen it for more. I don't think I've seen it for less. But you guys may have a different version of this and may say, Phil, there's a better version, and that would be awesome to know about. So drop me a line and let me know if there is something better on the market. Anyway, I like it. Don't love it, but I like it, and I think it's got definitely some add some value to my kit. Anyway, I digress, but I had promised I would talk about that, and I wanted to get that out of the way. Okay, so I've got one more nacelle to do to get detailed out and painted, and then I'll be doing that. But when we come back, we'll take a look at my my saucer, my lower saucer, Aztec. I'm not gonna sit here and Aztec. We've done it. I've covered it. It's covered in absolute extreme detail. So I'm not going to do it, but I do want to show you the next step after that, because there's some details that I want to show you. And of course, this is an update, so I want you to see where I am on the build. And then, of course, at some point, we are going to get into electronics, because I need to get the final sheath on my stand, and I'm going to need to get that connected to the base and get everything wired up. So we will definitely be talking about that. Not in this update, probably, but we will be talking about that, okay? So come back in a minute. And we'll take a look at that saucer, Aztec. Okay, stick around. It's a slow process, but I'm just taking my time. And I obviously laid down some of the shimmering paint all the way around as a base. And then I go back and I put down my aztecing, and then I'll go back and I will put down a final shimmer, and then everything is going to get softened up. But it's a process. But let me show you where we are. So this quadrant here has had shimmer, and you can see that here, that shimmering paint right there. You can see that. And then this quadrant here has had an Aztec over it. And I'm heavier in some places, I'm lighter in others, but I promise you, once we get our blending coat in here, this will all soften back and it's going to look beautiful. And I don't know if you can see, but as I hit the light there, yeah, you can. You can see where my shimmer pops up through the aztecing. So that's really fun because that's what gives you that depth. So when you start with your shimmering paint, and then you go to your aztecing, and then you go back to your shimmering paint, you get these layers and you get that wonderful depth. And it has a dimensionality to it that I'm really liking. I put some masking on the impulse crystal at the back, and I've also put in some shimmering paint here at the back, and I just love the way it pops. I just love it. I mean, it looks very ghostly under the light, but I assure you, in person, it's not that crazy. But don't worry, again, it's all going to be blended down. But we're getting there. We've also got our gray band in too, which I'm super happy with. That's in. So we're just sort of chipping away at this, right? That's what you do. You take it slowly, you chip away at it, and the result is just awesome. It really is. So I'm going to plow on. I've got probably a few more hours, maybe 4 more hours of work here to get this all done. But now you've seen it. We'll look at it again after I've put a blending coat on it, and we'll say, okay, well that's it. You know, once that's done, it's going to get sealed up, obviously, so that we can get some decals on it. Super exciting, super exciting. But yeah, it's a process, and then of course, after we've done all of this. And we've done our, well, we know we've done our secondary hull and pylons. We've got our nacelles to do after this, just to get those done. And then I think what we'll do is we'll take a look at the lighting setup again, and how we're going to approach getting that sort of to its final, you know, where I'm comfortable about starting to hook things up and start to test lighting and pray that this thing lights up. You know, I mean, you can test, but at the end of the day, you know, you make one stupid mistake, and usually for me, it's a it's a grounding issue, or a wire has broken inside the insulation. That happens. But anyway, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm pretty excited about what we're doing. You can see here again contrast from your aztecing to just shimmer, and you know, we'll sort of continue on around until we get everything where it needs to be. There's a nice look at the aztecing and the shimmering all in one kind of fell swoop, so you get to see that, and that's sort of that lovely process that you start to build. And so there we go. Let me plow on, as we say. My son can't stand it when I say that. I don't know why I say that. You know, I need a word for let's carry on, or why are we having this conversation? See you in a minute. I'm pulling off masks, and I wanted to talk about a couple of things. I've experimented with something which could be it could be a mistake, but you know, it's an artistic decision. But we'll see what happens. I'm pulling off Lou's masks. I've been doing. I was experimenting with color because at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? You just start again. It's paint. but it's a lot of work if you have to start again. And that's not the object of the exercise, but I feel free enough and confident enough that if I don't like something, I'm gonna do it again. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why the supplemental mask set has great value, at least to me personally. So I started with the supplemental set, and what that is it's just large objects that you lay down, and then you hit that with your shimmering paint, whatever your paint's going to be, whatever you're going to do, and then you do your masking over that. And I want to show you here, I'm just sort of pulling these off, forgive me, but there's something very therapeutic about loose masks. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's like, it's just the joy and the satisfaction you get when you pull these masks and you see what you've been able to accomplish. That years ago I used to watch guys do it with little pieces of tape, and they did a fantastic job, and you can certainly do that. But wow, this just it just makes all the difference in the world. But I wanted to just explain something here on this step, because I do think it's valuable for those of you who are not sure, because I know there's a lot of guys who don't do this, or they don't see the value in it. There is value in it, because paint is an incredible thing, and when you use it to your advantage, you can create all kinds of illusions of depth and tone. So when you take a look at this, and you see, now this obviously hasn't been blended down, but that's the example that I wanted to show you. All of the shimmer under the mask creates a level, so it's under it. And once in a while you get really lucky and you get this amazing tonality. And so now what I'm going to do is, obviously it all gets blended back, but the net result is that you can do one more shimmer pass, which is what I'm going to do, and that will put even more definition on top of this definition, and that'll be a very light pass, very just a light soupçon of a dusting, but it'll make all the difference in the world. And we'll take a look at that in a second. Well, second for you. Few hours for me, but it's worth it, and it just gives me such joy to start to see this process come together. Wanted to show you something. Do you see here where I have charred a darker color? And what I was trying to do is see, once I've got my blending coat. Now, for those of you, who know or don't know, I'm using the ComArt, and it's the opaque white. And it creates a really lovely, it's going to really pull this back, soften it back, and everything will blend together. But I wanted to see if I could get just a different kind of texture. And I kind of like it. Now, obviously, a lot of this will disappear, but that's okay. It's just, it's really coming together beautifully. So I'm super happy about that. And I'm going to blend this back. I'm going to soften all this back too. I'll obviously have to cover my impulse crystal before we do that. But it is definitely coming together. So I'm really pleased with the results. Really pleased. And ultimately, it's interesting. You can see why in the studio or the production decided, yeah, we're not doing that again. And they got rid of the shimmering panels. But I thought it was a really clever visual that I don't think gets nearly enough credit. But anyway, wanted to just jump in and share that with you. I'm just going to finish up. I've got 2 more pie sections I'm going to finish up. And then I'm going to blend this down, and we'll take a look at it blended down. So this is what a blending coat looks like. And you can see that everything is sort of pulled together, and it's softened. In person, it's quite really soft. So, but obviously in this, under these lighting conditions, not so much. But you know, oh, that's interesting. Sort of some kind of weird light phenomenon there. But so that's it. I've got this sort of hard line here. I'm just gonna let this dry and see if that needs to be softened at all. Here in the studio, it's actually quite soft, but we might take that down one more time before we hit this with another pass. But we'll see. I don't mind it actually. I like the sort of the contrast here. So anyway, I'm going to continue to work on the blending. I've got to blend the bottom. Obviously, that's not been done yet either. So I will do that. I'm going to get a final, just a soft pass of the shimmer, and we'll take one final look at this before I think we put this update in the books, because the next section is really going to be all about electrics hooking things up, and then obviously I've got decals to do, and my nacelles. I still have to Aztec my nacelles. Lots going on, but I don't think there's anything there that is extraordinary. If I have a hiccup of any kind, I'll certainly jump in and say, "Hey, I've had a hiccup." But other than that, I'm just going to plow on. Okay, so let me put down my final blending here. I'm going to let this dry, take one more look at it, see if it needs any more blending, and then I'm going to get my final shimmer coat over that, so you can see what that looks like. And then I think we'll call this one for part 8. Okay, so stick around. Okay, so this is the final on the shimmer coats, and it's beautiful. I cannot say enough about it. Can't say enough about it. It's super cool. Now the camera is playing tricks because it's all looking a little harsher than it actually is. It's quite blended and quite beautiful in person, but I'm sort of don't really know what to say other than, you know, you gotta have to see this, but it's great fun, and I'm really super happy with it. If you adjust it, you can start to see where it picks up the light, and that's pretty cool. It's one of those things where you sometimes you have to know when to stop, and sometimes you have to know when you're going to pick things up. Now, this is all going to obviously have to dry. If anything needs a final softening or blending, I will do that. I've got so many little details to pick out. I've got to do lots of touching up. You can spend the rest of your life touching up this kit, this model, but trying to make it look beautiful. I've got a center band of shimmering Aztec work that I've got to do, and I'll do that off camera because that requires a lot of patience and time. I'm going to obviously let this dry, and then I've got to flip it over, and I've got to blend my bottom, which is what I will do, and that will complete the saucer in terms of all of the Aztecing. And then once I've done that, it will get a couple of coats of gloss varnish ready for final decals. I've got some pinstriping I've got to work on. I might have something to share with you guys. I found a company that has super tiny pinstripe. Now, whether or not that adhesive will hold over time with say a varnish coat or something like that, I'm not sure. I'm going to do some experimenting. I do have some aftermarket pinstriping from HDA Model Works. HDA Model Works, ROKX. Jerry over there has some really spiffy aftermarket stuff, and I do a lot of business with him. So I did pick up his aftermarket pinstripe for the 1350. I have that in tow. We will take a look at some of this stuff if it's aftermarket, because it's worth sharing, right? Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes the actual kit supplied decals maybe will be better. I'm lucky because I have 6 sheets of these of the decals from the various different kits. 6 sheets. So if I have a disintegration of any kind, I do have backups. So I'm not super worried about it. I am a little concerned about my sensor bands, because I am using the JT Graphics sensor bands. I like them a lot, but you do have to cut them down a little bit. You can't use them in their full stripes. They can also have a tendency to be tricky to use, as are all decals. But having said that, she's getting there, and I'm feeling good about it all. I've got lots of little details to do. My yellow, I've got to paint in my yellow phaser banks. I've got pinstriping. I've got aztecing, a little more aztecing to do on the inner ring. Some detail work to clean up. I've got to get my dark blue paint on my window outline. I've got to get that painted in, and I will then remove all of my masking, my window masks, because they won't be affected by my clear coating. I'm not worried about those. The lights are bright enough that you don't want pinpoint light coming out of this ship anyway. It won't look real. Okay, so I think we're going to call this. I think we're going to call this quits for this update, because I've got a lot more to do, and I did want to get something out, and I have a little bit of traveling to do, so it's going to be spotty as to whether or not I can actually be consistent with these updates. But boy, am I getting dangerously close to the end of this. I would say, as I'm making this update video for you guys, conservatively, I have about a week and a half, 2 weeks full blown on it to have it finished. And boy, will I be excited to see this thing. But anyway, lots to do before then. I don't want to jinx it either, because I got to get this thing wired up and fired up, right? So we're going to definitely be doing that on the next update, because I've also got the challenge of showing you. I've got the sleeve that I've got to put over my my stand rod. I've got a nice sleeve that I painted that covers the threaded lamp shade rod that I used, and so that'll make that look beautiful. Then it has to be obviously connected to the stand, and then we'll most likely do some of the front facing decals when it's up on its stand. But anything, obviously on the belly or anything where I've got a tricky part, I will probably get that done before I commit to getting this thing on its final base. Holy cow! No final thoughts yet, but suffice it to say, anybody who tells you that they've worked on this kit for a year or for 2 years, they are not exaggerating. You might not be able to work on it every day as I have. You might be working on it on weekends. You might be doing whatever you're doing. But I encourage you not to stop, even if it's 10 minutes. And as I've said, I had a subscriber who took me up on my, hey, just get the kit out, open it, and take a look. That's a start. He sent me a note going, hey, Phil, just want to let you know, I have the 350. I took it down. I tore the plastic off. I opened the box and I took a look. Good on you, man. Good on all of you. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. If you want to reach out, drop me a line. I'm spruverse@gmail.com. Follow my In the Weeds Instagram posts, which I try to do on a daily basis, if not every other day. I'm at Spruverse on Instagram. Occasionally I TikTok as Spruverse, and Threads, not sure. Just not sure. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my material. I greatly appreciate it, as I said. It means an awful lot to me to be able to sit here and share my passion with you, and hopefully encourage each and every one of you to get modeling, because there's nothing like it. It's one of the greatest hobbies this planet has ever invented. And as always, I wish all of you, please, be safe, be well, build something, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.